from Dodge City to Garden City, and it was really interesting, Kiana, because the temperature in Dodge City was in the upper 30s, and just over that 56 miles or so to Garden City, it's dropped to near freezing. There was rain, all rain in Dodge City, and as you can clearly see here in Garden City, got to keep those cities correct, right? It's snow, and it's much more blustery here. We saw a tractor trailer that had already jackknifed. We talked to a Kansas state trooper, and he said that there were all kinds of problems already starting to happen, especially north of Dodge City. So things are just starting here in west central Kansas.
And you talked about your drive coming from Dodge City to Kansas to Garden City. Explain to us how that went. You started off in rain. Walk us through the process of how it switched over to snow, and was there any low visibility concerns there?
Well, it's interesting. The drive was pretty easy to start leaving Dodge City because it was mostly rain, and you could pretty much go the highway speed limit around 65 miles per hour. But it very quickly transitioned over to snow, rain, and then all snow, and the roads got covered pretty quickly, and you have to drop that speed down maybe 50 at best because you can really start to feel it. We're in a nice big heavy rental truck, but you can feel it. You can feel the sliding trying to start to happen, and it's just a really interesting drive to come only 50 miles from pretty much all rain in Dodge City to all the snow here in Garden City, and it's just going to get worse. This is just the beginning. The blizzard warning technically doesn't go into effect until noon Central Time over here in the Garden City area, and this is going to all progress east throughout the day.
And you talk about that progression. We have been told that you placed a couple of cameras all around Kansas as the system tracks east. Any concerns with moving those locations as the conditions worsen?
Well, those cameras will stay put. We have one just west of Pratt, we have one in Garden City, and then we have one in Dodge City. So they're all going to sit there, and it's a pretty good area, probably a little bit more than 115 miles of coverage. And so we're not going to move the cameras. We'll move around a little bit, but as the trooper told us, it's going to get worse throughout the day. And eventually, that's the thing, the visibilities will start to drop. That blowing snow, the blizzard conditions, visibility below a quarter mile for 3 hours or more, that's the blizzard. You can have 10 feet of snow, and if it's not blowing, it's not a blizzard.
Absolutely. Mark, we appreciate your insight from the ground. Stay safe out there. I'm sure we'll be checking in with you throughout the entirety of this storm system.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
We'll take a look at this. A tornado rolling through the south and parts of Florida Saturday. Damage as well as power outages were reported in Fort Lauderdale. And a National Weather Service team conducting a damage survey yesterday did determine that it was an EF0 tornado and had maximum wind speeds of 80 miles per hour. Now, more severe weather is possible from Texas through the Carolinas today and into tomorrow. This as another powerful storm is moving across the eastern half of the country. We look at this latest mesoscale that came out looking at the severe weather that the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center has issued out. We will likely see a watch be issued within the next couple of hours or so. And this is going to be for parts of East Texas through southern Louisiana, right in the triple point of this front that is going to be producing severe weather as we head into the latter half of this afternoon and into the evening. We're going to watch areas like Houston back towards Port Arthur, Lake Charles back towards Fort Polk for the severe weather to really continue to unfold. And there it is coming in on the alert system. I think they just issued that tornado watch. Cody, you'll probably get me up to speed in just a second. But we look at some of the tornado threats for now. These are going to be areas that we continue to watch from Houston through Lake Charles and to Baton Rouge. That's going to be that zone where these storms come sweeping through, producing a chance for tornadoes. We even have that potential for EF2 tornadoes or greater in this particular zone. And there's a lot of big cities from Houston through Lake Charles. Here's a look at that watch that we talked about likely being issued. So the Storm Prediction Center feels confident in the fact that this particular area has a potential to see the tornado warnings continue to plummet through as we head through this evening. Well, Massachusetts saw 17 inches of snow throughout the state, and now as a result, the Northeast is bracing for flooding. Boston is now under a flood watch as more potent storms are ahead later this week. Fox Weather's Robert Ray is about 40 miles west of Boston and Worcester, a city that saw chart-topping snow.
The sounds of a nor'easter in New England. Yeah, snow plows and heavy winds blowing the snow sideways. And that's exactly what we experienced here across Massachusetts and other beautiful states here in the Northeast over the weekend. This nor'easter that came in, dumping over a foot of snow in many areas. In fact, in parts of Massachusetts, over 18 inches. Here in Worcester, as they say it. Don't pronounce the R at the end. That's what I've being told by the locals. We had quite the scene on Sunday with just inches of snow falling, roughly around a foot, in some pockets a little bit more, as the snow plows were out in earnest trying to kick up some of that snow that hit the roadways. And then underneath that snow was ice in some areas. So they were doing their best, trying to move it and then put down the brine. That's what they're doing today to try and alleviate some of that slick icing across the roadways, interior and interstates. But yet people were out and about walking through the snow. They've been in a bit of a snow drought here for the past 2 years. So enjoying the scenic, historic buildings in towns like Worcester and walking the sidewalks through the parks. Really quite a beautiful scene if you like snow. And I think a lot of people around here do, certainly. But there's some bad news on the way. There is a flood watch that begins on Tuesday afternoon and goes all the way through Wednesday. And you may ask, well, why is that? Look at all the snow behind you. What do you mean there's a flood watch? Well, on Wednesday, the temperatures go up into the low 50s. They're in the 20s right now here today, and the low 30s. But that system that is moving across the U.S. that potentially could cause blizzard conditions in the plains and parts of the Midwest will end up here in the Northeast. And those temps are going to be so high that it's going to cause this mix and this mess, and the rain that will fall will just create maybe flash flooding scenarios here. Not good. So people need to be on guard as people are still dealing with power outages across the state of Massachusetts. Those are dwindling, and that will get better as the day goes on. I am actually headed on a flight to Chicago where I'll be reporting on that new system that will come in later tonight into Wednesday. And then, another one behind that. 2024, well, hello, just be a little easy on us, would you, Mother Nature? Please? Back to you.
I like that question. Be easy on us, Mother Nature. Well, what happens when heavy rain dumps more than a foot, dumps on top of more than a foot of snow? That's what parts of the Northeast are going to be dealing with this week, and we're following that flood risk right here on America's Weather Center. We'll be back with more after this break.
At Rulala, feel like
Stone Mountain on a frequency of 2.55 megahertz. The KEC 80 listening area includes the following counties: Cherokee, Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Douglas, Fayette, Forsyth, Fulton, Gwinnett, Henry, Newton, Rockdale, and Walton. Visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta for the latest weather information, including watches and warnings. You can also like your Peachtree City National Weather Service on Facebook or follow NWS Atlanta on Twitter. Wind advisory remains in effect until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday. What? Southeast winds 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 45 miles per hour expected. Where? Portions of north central, northwest, and west central Georgia. When? From 4 p.m. this afternoon to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday. Impacts. Gusty winds could blow around unsecured objects. Tree limbs could be blown down and a few power outages may result. Use extra caution when driving, especially if operating a high-profile vehicle. Secure outdoor objects. Wind advisory remains in effect from 4 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Eastern.
flash flood warnings in place because the heavy rainfall that's coming is just coming at a very quick time span, leading to flooded areas. So we are going to keep a very close eye here across the southern portion of the state, because not only could we see this heavy rain, but the severe threats that come along with it. Now, I just want to show you one thing, because we do have a significant tornado threat, and notice where that significant tornado threat is in relation to that tornado watch. It encompasses Houston, the Woodlands, and then stretches out towards Mobile to Destin. So you will likely start to see this watch become extended more off to the east as we continue through the next several hours. Nationally, on the northern side, it is cold and it is gusty. We are dealing with a lot of snow. We are dealing with blizzard conditions. We are dealing with low visibility in some parts across the plains, especially out through the eastern plains of Colorado, moving into Kansas. This has been where our limited visibility has been the most. Right now, Garden City, Liberal, into the panhandle of Texas, you are seeing visibility down to about 1/4 of a mile, but even lower visibility stems all the way up into Nebraska. So it's a pretty hefty system that is going to bring some impacts your way. Please make sure that you are watching those impacts. If you are driving out there, you are doing so very cautiously. The Northwest, this is kind of the start of a couple of rounds coming through where you are also going to notice some extreme winter storm impacts, especially up into the Cascades, where we're already starting to see that snow coming in, but a lot more of that snow is going to be building into Idaho, into Montana, and even down into Northern California in the coming days. But let's talk a little bit more about the heavy rainfall across the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Jackie, you've got some details for us.
Yeah, it is just so busy across the country. So we're just trying to target in on what we can as we cover multiple topics. So we're talking about blizzards, as Taban was showing you. We're talking about severe storms. We're also talking about the flood threat that's going on into Tuesday. You can see, again, portions from New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Gulfport. So we are going to have the potential to see some of that flooding in these cities, Hattiesburg, and you want to make sure you're just being extra cautious. If you're doing any traveling, if you're out on the roads, even if you're not in the roads, you just want to make sure, you're just being as well prepared as you can as far as that flooding concerns go. Because if, you're in a low-lying area, you may need to seek higher grounds with this. We are seeing the forecast rainfall. We can see upwards of 4, even 5 inches. You can see in portions of South Carolina there, we have that potential to see some very heavy rainfall localized. So again, localized heavy rainfall. There's the system coming through. Again, strong storms popping up along this. We're going to have that potential to see tornadoes, anything along this that develops. It's by 8 o'clock, but also that very heavy rainfall. An overnight event, gusty winds, damaging winds, hail, heavy rain as this system continues to move through. By Tuesday, that's moving through portions of the Carolinas. By Wednesday, we do see things out of here. So we are going to see that excessive rainfall chance for portions of the upstate in South Carolina. You can see in North Carolina, also some of those mountains. We are dealing with some of the moderate risk where those mountains help to squeeze out excess moisture, and that's why you can get more of that flooding in this portion. So again, localized heavy rainfall is definitely going to be there. We've been above average for some of these spots. So more rain on these already saturated soils. Let's head to Charleston, South Carolina. Taban's going to tell us more about what we can expect here.
Yeah, Charleston, you are in the clear for now, but this system is going to be working its way closer and closer by tomorrow, and that's going to lead to some stronger storms in your direction. This upper level low is going to provide enough of that energy. We've got plenty of instability here to see that from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas for Tuesday. So we've got severe threats that are going to be in place for your Tuesday. If you're in Wilmington all the way down through Gainesville, Panama City, you're under an enhanced risk. A little bit more isolated in nature down into South Florida, but still possible to see those storms. And with these storms, tornadoes are going to be our main threat. We've got this area in red here, Destin, Albany, Tallahassee, and then up into the Carolinas where an EF2 in strength or stronger is possible. We also have gusty winds, so you don't need a tornado in order to see damage. A significant wind threat is in place where winds can be over 75 miles per hour. Remember, when we talk about severe thresholds, well, that's just about 58 miles per hour. When we see significant thresholds, that's higher gusts possible. So it's this frontal boundary that'll continue to work its way east. It'll really be present already by the overnight and early morning hours, reaching in through Panama City, through Georgia by the late morning tomorrow, and then you'll see those storms pass through the Carolinas coast as we head into the afternoon and into the evening hours, reaching down into South Florida, though it does look like it'll kind of lose a little bit of that intensity a bit farther to the south. Still isolated severe storms possible. Your full western regional forecast is coming up next.
The road all morning. We spoke with one woman who said she was still being cautious this morning, even though the roads are looking just a little bit wet, because on her commute she was seeing snow falling from the trees. But crews have been out here since late last week for hours and hours, just trying to make sure everyone stays safe. And here in Salem, people have said they actually are very surprised at how much snow they've received.
I feel like every year I forget how bad it is. And I feel like we haven't had one this bad in a really long time, but I don't know, every year I feel like I'm colder and colder.
I think it was not bad coming in. The streets are pretty clean. It's cold here. Parking's a little rough over here. They're trying to plow all the parking lots over here. So luckily we're parked way up there, so that puts a damper on things, makes it a longer day.
Well, we haven't seen a lot of kiddos out playing this morning, but we have determined that this is some good snowball weather snow. But they may have another chance because, as you guys have been mentioning, another snowstorm is on the way, could potentially hit tomorrow. So people said they're trying to recover from this one before another could hit tomorrow. Back to you.
It's great to see that folks there are making some progress with the cleanup as another system's on the way. Kaylee, thanks so much for your report. And we'll keep it to the northeast, where you're looking at areas of snow, part of Pennsylvania. You're looking out towards Bushkill Falls in Pennsylvania. That waterfall still flowing, but there's snow surrounding that waterfall. A lot of this snow, though, will be melting, and it's going to create a flood risk as things are warming up for the start of this week. When we take you to the northeast, we look at some of our totals across the eastern half of the country. A lot of areas well past 1.5 feet of snow, from Milton, New York, through parts of New Hampshire, back into Massachusetts, well over 12 inches of snow. We've seen a fair share of some snow over the weekend with that nor'easter, but now as things start to warm up, we'll have another round of some wet weather that's going to come through, and it's actually going to create a flood risk between the snow melt and the heavy rain that's expected. When we take you through our Tuesday across the East Coast, that blizzard that we talked about that's currently across parts of the northern plains does swing into the northeast as rain. Look at some of these areas from Washington, D.C. through Philadelphia, back into New York, to expect heavy rain much of Tuesday and into early Wednesday. We'll see things dry out by Wednesday afternoon, maybe a couple more festive way through, but for the most part we're seeing drier conditions and really gusty winds to follow that low as we head through Wednesday. Looking at our rain forecast, we talked about that flood risk that's going to be in place. Several inches of rain expected from Boston through Hartford, Connecticut, 2 to 3 inches there. Philadelphia down the I-95 corridor into DC could see a couple of inches as well. And a lot of areas farther north have that snow that's currently on the ground. With this system moving through, a lot of rain on top of that snow could create very rapid snow melt. So we do have a flood watch that stretches really from Maine all the way down through parts of Virginia. And that's going to be a risk that's pretty expensive in terms of the opportunities for flooding. On top of that, we're looking at some very gusty winds too. I mean, these winds are impressive, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds along the immediate coast. Farther inland, you look up towards, say, Buffalo, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. So this is a potent storm system that's moving through. And with the combination of both the heavy rain, the flood risk, the saturated ground, as well as those wind gusts that we talked about, there is a pretty expansive chunk of the I-95 corridor from Bangor all the way down through Washington, D.C. that falls under a likely to widespread risk for power outages. So we want you to be ready for that. Be prepared for it. Our biggest concern is going to be the wind as well as the heavy rain that leads to this power outage opportunity. And on top of that, we look back towards, say, even the southeast and the Gulf Coast to see some flood concerns there as well. With this system, a lot of heavy rain expected to move throughout the area. Well, let's talk about that next system that's going to be pushing through. It's going to be that Arctic blast set to chill the lower 48 later into the week as well as into next week. Temperatures will drop this weekend below 20 to 30 degrees below average in a lot of areas. So we're setting the stage for these systems to start moving through and really colder air. Looking at mid-January the 13th through the 17th, we see temperatures across the northern plains out of Canada to fall below average or very likely below average. And we see that all the way down towards parts of the Gulf Coast. So a lot of that colder air filtering through and being ushered in each and every time we have this bowling ball effect of storms that push through. As we look at Friday the 12th, we look at areas like Bismarck back towards Pierre, moving into Casper. Teens across the board, single digits across the board, and colder air continuously is moving through. At one point during the weekend, we'll see areas like Billings get to 1 degree as your high. Same goes over towards Bismarck, a high of 3 expected, and a lot of areas eventually will even feel temperatures that fall below 0. That happening out of Billings back towards Bismarck. As far south as Denver, we see temperatures at around 35 degrees, Wichita 21. So the colder air is going to be rushing in and settling into place and setting the stage for really cold temperatures through the middle half of January. Even our lows through the overnights fall well below 0, 16 below 0 out of Billings, 5 below out of Pierre, 11 below out of Bismarck, really catching the brunt of this colder air as we head into this upcoming weekend. We see this through the latter half of Sunday and moving into the work week as well. And eventually a lot of that colder air, while it is filtering south, will be shifting east as well. So we'll have to watch areas like Kansas City eventually, as far east and south as Atlanta, and as far east as the northeast as well, to fall below average during the latter half of January. Let's use Duluth, for example, in Minnesota. Watch how temperatures completely plummet as we head into this upcoming, or that week from Monday through Sunday, from the 20s to the 30s, back to single digits, well below 20 degrees as its average for parts of the upper Midwest. Well, a blizzard is brewing in the Midwest, and some folks are going to be messing out of a commute. We'll have when you have to pull out the shovels coming up.
I'm Britta Merwin, and today we're talking nor'easters. Every year the East Coast is plagued by these storms, but really, what are they? Now, these aren't your run-of-the-mill winter storms. A nor'easter is a strong area of low pressure that moves up the East Coast, marked by its winds that move in from the northeast. Now, these storms can bring heavy rain and snow for miles. While you can technically get a nor'easter any time of year, they are most likely to occur between September and April, when the jet stream is stronger and more active. Now, there's two types of nor'easters, a Miller Type A and a Miller Type B. A Miller Type A is a typical nor'easter. It develops along the Gulf Coast, but then races up the East Coast, tracking towards the northeast. Miller Type Bs, they're a little different. They originate in the Midwest and then move east towards the Appalachians. However, once the storm reaches the mountains, it loses its organization. It will transfer its energy to a new area of low pressure that redevelops along the East Coast and tracks up to the northeast, just like a Miller Type A storm. Fox Weather is your winter.
For fast, natural relief, experience.
23 miles an hour. Macon, it was mostly sunny, 53 degrees, wind east at 10 miles an hour. Columbus, it was cloudy, 53 degrees, wind southeast at 15 miles an hour, gusting to 24 miles an hour. Birmingham, it was partly sunny, 51 degrees, wind southeast at 12 miles an hour, gusting to 28 miles an hour. Rome, it was mostly sunny, 49 degrees, wind southeast at 16 miles an hour, gusting to 24 miles an hour. Chattanooga, it was mostly sunny, 53 degrees, wind southeast at 50.
This is a Fox Weather Alert. A massive blizzard is blasting the plains in the Midwest. Heavy snow and powerful winds making travel dangerous from Colorado to Kansas and Nebraska. And this huge storm is just getting started. Watch for heavy snow to move into the Great Lakes, and down south, the storm will bring the threat of severe weather, even tornadoes, to the Gulf Coast this evening and overnight. And then tomorrow, that threat moves into the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, while the Northeast faces several inches of flooding rain and wind gusts up to around 60 miles per hour. It's going to be a very busy stretch of days. We'll have the latest. And while folks in the Northeast await that flooding rain, they have plenty of snow to shovel. The weekend nor'easter dumped more than a foot on parts of New England. All of that and more right now on Fox Weather Now. And this is a Fox Weather Alert. Good Monday afternoon, and thank you for watching Fox Weather. Right now it's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, noon out west. I'm Ian Oliver, and this is Fox Weather Now. Right now, we've got this full-on blizzard hitting the Midwest. We're barely removed from this nor'easter that dumped the first legitimate snow of the season on the Northeast, and now we are tracking this, which presents numerous threats as we move forward, not just through the next several hours, but overnight all the way through the middle part of this work week. So let's go out to where the storm is raging right now and get you a look at what's happening. This is Interstate 70 in Kansas, which is now closed because of ongoing blizzard conditions across the area. You can see a camera is bouncing around a bit. We've seen wind areas already up around 60 miles per hour. That's a look at what's happening on the cold side of this system. The absence of cars, too, tells you the story about the danger of traveling in some of these areas. Potent area of low pressure. This is now moving in across the Red River and up into Oklahoma. You see all of this lightning that's been exploding over the last couple of hours. We've got a couple of active severe thunderstorm warnings, one in Texas and another across the Sabine River and into the central part of Louisiana. So we'll be watching for the severe weather on this too, on the warm side of the storm. But this, with that area of low pressure, as I mentioned, in through here, you see how tightly packed and numerous these isobars are. That is an indication of the intensity of this system, which is still trending up as this moves off to the east. Big time wind gusts on both sides. The issue here on the warm side of the storm, out ahead of the actual cold front associated with this, that's going to be a strong forcing along the Gulf Coast, even into the overnight hours tonight. And because of that, we've got rounds of severe weather expected as we move through the next several hours through this evening. Yes, so much so that there's been this tornado watch issued through 9 o'clock local time from the Houston metro area all the way over to Lafayette, Abbeville, southwestern parts of Louisiana. A dangerous setup over the next several hours, and this threat will move east through the overnight period. And again, it's the overnight aspect of this that adds even more danger. As we said, this huge storm is just getting started. Let's bring in Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nidzl, who's been tracking this storm for days. Yeah, Tom, the nor'easter is barely in the rear view mirror, and now we have this blizzard, which is still ramping up.
Yeah, and the way I'm looking at it now, that nor'easter, that was just an opening act. We're getting into the main event now. And boy, this storm is a blockbuster. Ian, take a look at what's happening already with this storm, how quickly it's ramped up today. Look at the wind gusts out there across western Kansas, gusting 54, 55, 58 miles an hour. And as a result of that, you see all those red arrows or red dots that are there. Those are sites that have already confirmed a full-blown blizzard, meeting the criteria. And as a result of that, there's a whole stretch of I-70 already that is closed in both directions from Waukene, Kansas, right over to the Colorado border.
And as we move through this now blockbuster event, that's a fantastic new product, by the way, showing those spots, confirming blizzard conditions. How do we think this plays out as we move through the evening hours and then into the day tomorrow?
I'll tell you.
Winds to 70 miles per hour. So watch out for that. This goes until 9 o'clock Central Time, where again, we have that stretching all the way into the panhandle of Florida. But know that this goes through tonight and into tomorrow morning. So not necessarily we're seeing those intense storms in Panama City right now, but we will be watching this system move in that direction. We also have the potential for significant winds in place. New Orleans, Hattiesburg, Pensacola, Mobile, where winds 75 miles per hour or stronger are possible. So I'm going to show you the timeline here, because by the time we head into tomorrow morning, we'll start to see more of that line start to form, and that'll carry on into our Tuesday's time frame to see those storms pushing east. As far as right now goes, well, as I take you to the south, I'm going to turn off our tornado watch just to give us a better view of the rain and storm activity, and pause Viper radar, where we've got a couple of warnings here. Right now to the east of San Antonio and Gonzales, Texas, severe thunderstorm warning till 2:45, and up in portions of Louisiana just outside of Alexandria until about 2:15 Central Time. Flooding, we mentioned, also still going to be an important component, where we've already got some flash flood warnings in place. Out through New Orleans, you're starting to see some of that rain and storm activity coming in. We've got some heavier downpours out near Carthage to Shreveport, and then even outside of the Dallas metro, you've got some heavy rain that we're watching. So it's quite an intense system. And again, the northern side of it, those blizzard conditions going to be really impactful. Let's take you to Lincoln, Nebraska, where Jackie has a closer view of the timeline we're watching for you here.
Yeah, it's just so busy out there. And there's a look again. You can see that snow coming on down. And conditions, just depending on where you are going to be quite treacherous for some. As we take a look here, here's our winter weather alert spread out across the country. So I'm covering the blizzard side of this low that's bringing that severe. So the blizzard, also the winter weather advisories, the winter storm warnings that are all in place with this. This is going to be through Wednesday. As the system moves across the country, we're going to still see major impacts with this, with that snow. Here's your blizzard warning into Tuesday, including Kearney, Hayes, Dodge City, Guyman, Dumas, Amarillo, Raton, Lamar. We are also seeing that, and there is your forecast with this. You can see that snow still around this afternoon, and it's gonna follow that low pressure system. You can see those brown dotted lines, that trough. That is really helping to aid in some lift of this. So from Iowa to Nebraska, Kansas, and then now we're looking at portions of northern Missouri and Iowa. That's your Tuesday morning commute. So you want to make sure, depending on what time you hit the roads, it may not be a fun drive. You want to just make sure, if you don't have to get on the roads, don't. So here's your Tuesday afternoon. Now we're seeing a large portion of also Wisconsin, Iowa, clipping Missouri. Now we're seeing Illinois seeing more of that snowfall. And then as that low lifts to the north, that's going to pull this moisture right along with it. So as we take a look, the heaviest snowfall totals really following where you're seeing those brighter pinks. That's where you can see upwards of a foot of snowfall with this. Winds are going to be a concern, and there can be gusty winds at times. So you just want to make sure those winds are no joke, especially for those high profile vehicles. I know even in my car, I'm sometimes like, when there's really gusty winds. Hate it, terrifying, hated it. We can see again major impacts. You can see pushing through northern Missouri, Iowa, and then blowing snow impacts. That's going to be another thing. No matter if it's snowing or not, whatever snow's left on the ground can still cause limited visibility. So you want to make sure you're being extra cautious with that. We'll keep you updated. We do have your East Regional forecast. We're going to talk more about that. And look at them, some firefighters making some snow angels. We'll be right back.
really slippery. There's not enough salt out on the streets, so I think they should probably get out salting and stuff like that. It's kind of a big thing. The streets get icy, so I think people just need to be more careful, around this time.
And Ian, 7 events planned for later on this week, including Nikki Haley's campaign events, as well as some for former President Donald Trump. So all of those could have an impact with this weather.
Yeah, this storm and the next one that we're going to let folks know about later on this week, it's an active run for a variety of reasons over the next several days. Nicole Valdez, thank you. We're going to get to a Fox weather alert. We talked about that tornado watch that was up along the Gulf Coast. There is now a new tornado warning issued. It's off to the north of the Houston metro area. So there you go. You've got the low clouds around, storms in the vicinity, and now this new tornado warning that was issued. It includes parts of northeastern Montgomery County, southwestern San Jacinto County, and southwestern parts of Polk County. All of these in southeastern Texas. This is a storm that is racing quickly off to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. That's going to be a theme of the storms today. These are fast movers, so those hazards arrive quickly on your doorstep, which is all the more reason why you need to be plugged in, aware of what's happening as we move on through the next several hours. And we'll be letting you know throughout this event right here on Fox Weather. This is that tornado warning that I was mentioning, Montgomery, Polk, San Jacinto, running until 2:30. So we got another 20 minutes or so with this. It's east of Interstate 45, west of Highway 59. That is the couplet of concern. It looks like this is just south of 150 and about 15 miles off to the west of Shepherd. That couplet is well formed. You can see the bright pinks indicating wind that's quickly moving away from the radar, the brighter greens indicating wind that's moving toward. And when they're in close proximity or even gate to gate in through here, we're just getting in a new radar scan there, that's how you can infer some strong rotation. Again, as you have winds moving in opposite directions in very close proximity. This is radar indicated rotation. We don't have any word from the National Weather Service of a tornado being on the ground yet, but it is a strong indication of that rotation occurring. We'll have to watch for that. You need to plan as if there's a tornado on the ground and moving quickly in your direction, because again, the storm speed itself represents a hazard. You'll be getting some big wind gusts with these storms as they move on through. That's the first one. Unfortunately, we aren't thinking this is going to be the last one as we move forward in time through this evening. So keep it here on Fox Weather as we track the dangerous, severe side of this storm. Got a blizzard ongoing now. Heavy snow, powerful wind, and cold temperatures all in the middle of the country with very dangerous conditions persisting. Doesn't end there. Tomorrow, this system pushes east, bringing several inches of heavy rain and damaging wind gusts to the northeast, which some areas are still digging out that heavy, wet snow from this weekend's nor'easter. The very latest when Fox Weather comes right back.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike.
Little bit of snow on the back end here of this system that we'll be tracking. How much snow? Well, those higher elevations looking at another 6 to 12 inches of it. So great news for some of those ski resorts. We've already got some winter alerts in place out through Pennsylvania and up into New Hampshire and Maine. But flooding is going to be that main component that we watch out for. Boston, Philadelphia, Williamsport stretching up along the coastal areas of Maine where flood watches are already in anticipation for a few inches of rainfall, but again, with some of the melting snow contributing to that additional water source. New York City extended 7 days. You've got rain tomorrow and Wednesday, a bit of a break. Temperatures in the 40s Thursday, Friday, and then you've got another chance for rain by Saturday. Next stop brings us to the Mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley. We've got the rain moving in by tonight. That encompasses Kentucky to West Virginia through the overnight hours. Higher elevations of the Appalachia Range getting some snow, and that moves its way up into Pennsylvania. Now we're looking at widespread showers to start your morning On Tuesday, Lexington, Cincinnati, Columbus to Johnson City. We'll finally see a little bit of a break through Kentucky into the afternoon Tuesday, still through West Virginia. D.C., some heftier showers by the evening hours Tuesday expected there for you. And in the back end, we see temperatures cool down a bit more. So you've got a burst of snow that starts to come through Columbus to Pittsburgh to State College into Wednesday's time frame. So that next burst of snow that comes in is relatively light. It's that first little bit that comes into those higher elevations where we'll see upwards of 6 inches, and then heavy rainfall as we head closer to the Atlantic coast, where we've got excessive rainfall risks in place, a level 3 out of 4 risk for D.C., Philadelphia, Scranton. So you could be encountering quite a few areas of flooding. We've also got coastal flood alerts in place here as well. Salisbury, D.C., Wilmington. So flooding going to be one of the bigger components that we watch out for here across the Northeast in the coming days. Let's now take you to Winter Garden, Florida, talk a little bit more about the forecast here with Jackie.
Yeah, we are going to be tracking a very active pattern in your coming days. As we do take a look here, not much going on in Winter Garden, but we are going to see, again, a severe threat work its way across the southeast. We do see tornadoes possible, and a flood threat is going to be in place. So excessive rainfall today, including New Orleans, Mobile, that moderate, that means that flooding will absolutely be pretty steady there, where you can see those pockets of heavy rainfall, and you can see flooding likely in those portions of the country. So you want to be extra cautious if you're doing any traveling, because those heavy downpours definitely can cause some of that flooding. And it's scary getting caught in those heavy downpours. As we take a look at Tuesday, we do have that moderate risk around portions of the mountains of South Carolina and North Carolina, right on the border there. Those mountains help to squeeze out that excess moisture. All threats are going to be possible for today from Destin, Hattiesburg, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. EF2 tornadoes gust to 75 miles per hour with those winds, that significant threat today. So strong tornadoes, gusty winds. You can see from Pensacola, New Orleans, Gulfport, and we do have that system coming through by tonight by 4 o'clock. You can see those storms still ahead of that from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Enterprise, and
that perhaps head out to the game, and we do have dangerous weather in the forecast as we move on through the next several hours. This is the storm, the tornado warning, well off to the north of Houston. It includes Montgomery, Polk, and San Jacinto counties, and it runs for another 15 minutes or so. We've been watching this, though. It was previously warned for up to golf ball size hail. In fact, slightly larger than the size of a golf ball, 2 inches in diameter. These are healthy storms, and they're racing quickly off to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour. That look here looks like that rotation may have broadened just a touch from the last time we checked in, but this is our rotation tracker product, which has been monitoring this, and you see each stop in its evolution, different radar scans. It was peaking as that tornado warning was issued. So we'll watch to see if there's any indications. This was radar indicated rotation, not a confirmation of a tornado on the ground, but just at a quick glance, that is a dangerous storm moving right in between West Livingston and Shepherd. And this will quickly be racing out of that tornado warning box, again, because of the rapid motion of this storm. We had previously mentioned that this threat was going to be present as this sprawling storm system continues to ramp up in intensity. Fox Weather's Adam Klotz with us now. You've been keeping an eye on all of these developments along the Gulf Coast. One aspect of a storm that's bringing blizzard conditions right now to the plains, but it's not much better, unfortunately, when we're talking about hazards on the warm side of this.
No, and you kind of mentioned this and alluded to it, that this is probably the first of what ultimately will be mini tornado warnings, because the ingredients are in place there across a really large area. Yes, Houston we're talking about, but really running you all the way around the coast, ultimately getting over towards New Orleans. Before the night's over, though, that area is going to spread out an even larger area, probably getting over to the Florida Panhandle is going to get in on some of this severe weather activity. But here is our future forecast, and you can pay attention to the timestamp up in the corner. Even though, Ian, we're already seeing some big severe weather right now, there's reason to think that this could be at its worst overnight, which is obviously a dangerous situation.
It's an especially problematic setup when you're talking about the timing of all this. Yes, we've got through the next several hours, but that's 1 a.m. And this is, you can even see it, Adam, right along that front. There's strong forcing and a lot of energy for that front to tap into.
Yeah, so that line that we're really tracking there ultimately will probably clear out the weather, but that's a line that you could see some real severe weather. And as you just noticed again, it was largely through the overnight hours. But this is where I said it could cause be an area much larger. So you go from Houston through New Orleans and you get over towards Panama City Beach, Florida. So a really large area there where you see a risk of tornadoes.
And we haven't seen this in a while, at least a month or two, Adam. It's not just that there is a likelihood of a few tornadoes over the next several hours. The Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center saying EF2 plus possible tornadoes.
So really strong tornadoes, just extra reason to stay extra alert here throughout the evening hours.
All right, let's get back to the hazards occurring right now on the northern side of this system. A powerful storm is bringing wintry weather through the plains in the Midwest. Omaha, Nebraska, they're under a winter storm warning until tomorrow with heavy snow, 8 to 10 inches, a forecast to blanket the region. The National Weather Service in Omaha, meteorologist Taylor Nicholson joins us now to discuss more. Taylor, the area just under the criteria for a blizzard warning, but awfully close. This is a powerful storm with big wind gusts and heavy snow that will reduce visibility. What are you expecting for a timeline of this as those threats start to move on through?
Yeah, so already some locations seeing 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow, mostly west of here. We're a little bit closer to the Omaha metro. Already some significant snowfall rates. We're seeing that snow add up to 1 inch or 2 inches in just under an hour in some instances. And just in the last half hour at the Weather Service office here, we've seen some snowflakes probably bigger than maybe a golf ball. We're talking very significant snowflakes adding up in a hurry. And we're seeing more and more locations switch over from rain to that snow, and that snow adds up in a hurry. We're going to be in trouble all day today and through tomorrow, as that real heavy, wet snow is going to take a lot to clean up. You add in those strong winds, and we're expecting a big mess.
And we do want to let folks know, as we continue to talk about what's happening on the cold side of the storm, the tornado warning that we had previously told you a couple of moments back.
And welcome back to Weather Nation. And not a fun time to be in New Orleans because, as you can see, we've seen ponchos, clear ponchos, umbrellas. There's just not enough sun to be out there. I mean, it's just rainy and dreary. That's all I can really say. You want to make sure you're just being cautious and paying attention to the weather if you're in New Orleans, because we are tracking, as you can see, some of those storms. We've got strong storms, and we actually have multiple warnings going on. We do have a confirmed tornado here that is in San Jacinto County, Texas. This is going to be until 2:30. So if you're in Livingston, if you're in Shepherd, you want to make sure you are seeking shelter here immediately. It's just to the north of Shepherd. If we take a look at the velocity here, there it is right there. There's the tornado. A spotter has confirmed that to the south of Cold Spring. So you want to make sure you are seeking shelter if you're in Cold Spring, Livingston, and Goodrich. So we are tracking that as we do take a look again at the South Severe in general. There's a severe thunderstorm warning in Gonzales County, Texas. We've got flooding going on in southern Louisiana. So this is what we're going to be dealing with this area of low pressure. So we've got this low pressure system. We can see on the warmer side of that, as this front comes through, we're going to see tornadoes. We are going to see, again, strong storms. We're going to see damaging wind gusts with this. So you just want to make sure you are being extra cautious. Now, as we do take a look Again, at Louisiana, New Orleans, as you saw, seeing those storms that continue to push through. As we head to where the blizzard portion of this, we can see just gusty winds. We can see limited visibility with this. We are seeing snow from Sioux Falls to Sioux City to Omaha, St. Joseph, Kansas City, and then we've got this line right here. This is separating where we've got those temperatures that are well above average, and the freezing temperatures, even some of that mixed precipitation along that line there. As we take a look at the current temperatures, we can take a look at some of this visibility, and this is what I really wanted to show you. This is where you can get that blowing snow. The snow's just blowing around, so a quarter mile or less of visibility and gusty winds as well with this. And as we take a look at the same area, this is where we're seeing gusts to 40 to 50 miles per hour. That's why we are seeing those blizzard-like conditions. So this low is really packing a punch here. In the northwest, we are seeing some of that snow around portions in just to the Yakima, along the Cascades there, heading to the east. So just keep that in mind. So a very, very active pattern right now. Let's take a look, though, and head to the northeast, where things are going to be changing, Tabon.
Yeah, this was Sunday views as we had some intense weather coming through. You could see those gusty winds and the wavering of the power lines. We saw anywhere between a foot to nearly 2 feet of snow into some parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Temperature-wise, over the next few days, we will kind of climb and then drop back down, and that's going to lead to some areas of snow melt and flooding on top of some rain we're expecting to work in. So flood alerts Tuesday and Wednesday. Richmond, D.C., all the way up through Portland, Maine included in this, where we could see about 2 to 3, even pockets higher than 3 inches of rainfall possible, extending through the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for heavy rain. We have a level 3 out of 4 flooding risk. That includes those in D.C., Baltimore, Scranton, up into portions of Connecticut, where flooding is going to be on the more likely side. So let's time this out. As we head into early tomorrow morning, you see snow into those higher elevations, rain pretty much everywhere else, and then we move up. D.C., Philadelphia, New York, continuing to see some of that heavy rainfall through the 4 or 5 o'clock hour. That'll build up into New England, where those higher elevations will have more of that snowfall coming through. Still raining out into New York City, out through Philadelphia, upstate New York, and then that'll slowly be more so for Boston up through Maine. But notice on the back end, there's still some active weather, so not completely quiet conditions even as we move away from that first round. We could see another foot of snow into Vermont, New Hampshire, up through Maine. We've already got some winter alerts that are starting to extend upwards into Maine, down through Pennsylvania. Strong winds to be likely throughout the entirety of the system. We could see gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour. So notice, as that system comes in, all of those deep dark reds indicating 40 to 50 plus mile per hour winds to be likely. Let's now take you to Truckee, California. We've got another little bit of snow that's going to be working in across the west coast.
Yeah, that's right, Tabon. As we do see the parade of lows really keeping that pattern active here. As this, you can see that snow in Truckee. We're going to see more snow. We've still got those alerts in place. Winter weather alerts are going to be through this evening through Thursday morning, where we will see more of that snow from Missoula, Pocatello, Eugene, Medford, Portland. And so you want to be extra cautious any of those passes. Look at that. Blizzard warnings are in place for the Cascades, portions of Interstate 90 there. So you want to make sure any driving, it's going to be limited visibility at times with this. Winds 35 miles per hour. They can last up to 3 hours. And so as this system pushes to the east from Idaho to western Washington, we are again seeing more of that snow as that works through. So we can see by Tuesday morning more of that snow. You can see Tuesday afternoon. There'll be breaks, though, in portions of this. By Wednesday, we're seeing more of that snow. That's by Wednesday morning. We are still tracking that snowfall, and then that all shifts to the south there. And then this low comes in, and Thursday morning, we're going to see more of that snow. So those mountain passes, Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, you want to make sure you are just being extra cautious and careful with this as we see all of this snow as that does continue to move through. So the heavier snowfall really going to be in the Cascades, the higher elevations where we can see up to 2 feet of snow. And then we are looking at some very impressive snowfall totals where you can see again 1 foot to 2 feet, even portions of the higher elevations of Idaho. We'll be right back. Of course, we are tracking the severe weather. This is a confirmed tornado warning. This is for Polk County, Texas. It's going to be until 2:30. Make sure you are seeking shelter. If you're in Livingston, make sure you are continuing to stay with us as we track the severe weather for the next couple of days.
Minutes out, you need to rush down to your tornado safe spot. You already have some nasty weather moving through with gusty wind, torrential rain, and lots of lightning. And then areas farther off to the north and east from there racing in your direction. And again, at almost interstate speed. And we're thinking that is going to be a feature of most of these cells that have developed. Those are the ones that we're watching for clear rotation. The actual front is still well back to the west. That is where there is going to be a lot of forcing. You need moisture, you need instability for severe weather, and you need a trigger. The trigger will be that cold front, and unfortunately, that's one that will persist right on through this evening, all the way through the overnight hours tonight. So for areas farther off to the east, you notice how far that tornado watch exists. That's through 9 p.m. local time. We may see that even expanded in time and distance farther off to the east, because the overall dynamics of this setup with the front, with the amount of moisture and instability finding its way up from the south off the Gulf of Mexico, this is going to be a severe weather threat that persists right on through the overnight hours tonight, and really for the other portion of the Gulf Coast directly through the day on Tuesday. This is a dangerous next 24 hours plus ahead, and we'll keep you updated right here on Fox Weather. Let's move now to what's happening in the plains and over in the Midwest. This is a full-blown blizzard that's triggering the severe weather down south, but also scenes like this farther off to the north. That is a live picture of Des Moines. We had just checked in with Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez. She showed us how the snow really was just getting started there, but it's going to pile up several inches of it in what's a big week ahead in the state of Iowa. This shows you the overall scope of this system. Blizzard conditions have been confirmed across the high plains, parts into the central plains too. And then this purple is a winter storm. will be windy, sub-blizzard criteria by that much in some spots. Several inches of snow can be expected. So there's your area of low pressure. That's moving off to the east. Warm side of the storm presents all the threats that we were just showing you, including flooding. We'll have to talk more about that with this particular event and then with another one that's on the way later on this week. But look at this shield of snow. Places like North Platte, it's only 19 degrees. Scott City, the western part of Kansas, heavy snow is being reported right now. And this is a brand new product just into Fox Weather. Where you see the red, that is where blizzard conditions at each one of these sites, that's where they've been confirmed. All the purple indicates near blizzard conditions. It's representative of this entire portion of Kansas and then farther off to the north up into Nebraska. A lot of folks experiencing either a bona fide blizzard or something awfully close to it this afternoon. Those blizzard conditions are persisting across the plains, and following this storm is our exclusive Fox Weather storm tracker, Mark Sudduth, and he joins us now in Dodge City, Kansas. Mark, great to have you back. Your shot just popped up, kind of tells us everything we need to know. It's been a long wait for an active period of weather like this, and unfortunately this one is painfully active and includes what you're experiencing right now. What's it like out there?
Well, Ian, it's really interesting. In just the last hour, it went from, it's not too bad out there. This was not covered in snow at all, maybe even a little bit of rain. And now we are close to that blizzard condition situation. The winds are gusting pretty strong out here. Snow blasting in. The parking lot's covered. People coming in to take shelter. It is definitely picking up here in the western part of Kansas.
I know you've been moving around a bit, and conditions for travel have been becoming increasingly treacherous. What have you seen? Have you run into any issues with visibility out there?
Earlier, it wasn't too bad on Highway 50 between here and Garden City. A couple trucks that had some problems with spinouts, and the visibilities are starting to go down. Now, I would say it's probably not wise to drive at all. We're not going to be driving around much, maybe just in and around the hotel here. The live shot there in Garden City shows you what it looks like there. The traffic was heavier earlier. People are used to this out here for the most part. They know what they're doing, but still, these highways, they get treacherous real quick. And you get those blinding snow bands coming through, and you can have an accident quicker than you can blink an eye. So, yeah, we're going to be staying put, Ian.
Yeah, clearly. We're just bouncing around. I look at some cameras across the region representative of what you've been experiencing. What's the plan from here on out? I know as it becomes increasingly dangerous to drive, you'll be hunkering down, but you can't really go too far when you consider what's in the forecast for later on this week.
Yeah, so we're basically going to stay here at the hotel. It's a nice area. There's a casino here. I'm just saying, it just happens to be a casino. It's a nice, big, bright property. So the shots that we're going to do later today, things are going to get progressively worse. And this evening, it's going to be spectacular, I think. You know how snow looks at night. And then we're going to sit tight through tomorrow. And then we're going to start watching for that second storm that's coming later in the week. And you're right, I got to figure out how to play that. There's a lot of moving parts with all of this for sure in the coming days.
There you go. Yeah. Manual windshield wiper. We had lost you for a second there, but certainly glad to hear you've got some entertainment if you're stuck for a little bit. And if you're a betting person, you bet on Mark Sudduth to bring us the pictures. Great to check in with you. We'll be talking again soon. Mark, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Ian.
Adam?
Downpours right now in Livingston, Texas, part of a huge area across southeastern Texas where we're expecting to see some severe weather, plenty of big thunderstorms, plenty of just sub-severe thunderstorms, and then also areas where we're seeing tornadoes. Currently, a couple of different spots we're paying attention to with some sort of tornadic activity. We've got now a confirmed tornado and a radar-indicated tornado, both in place across this entire region as we're just seeing tons of moisture funneling up and in. This now just to the north of Houston. I did mention two possible tornadoes there. One, again, actually confirmed by a spotter on the ground. Both of these in Polk and San Jacinto counties lifting off towards the north very quickly. At times, we've seen all of these cells kind of going 40, 50 miles an hour. This is what it looks like, both just kind of side by side, where you're looking at these pink and red colors, and then bumped right up against the colors of green. That's our winds coming towards you. And these are areas where you think there's some sort of rotation going on. Initially, this was our initial cell that we saw first originally indicated just on radar, but a spotter did see this one, and it continues to move very quickly. If you're downwind of this one, downstream of this one, Barnes, Chester, you're looking at some of these coming here relatively quickly because, again, this is a fast-moving storm system. This currently set to expire there, I think at 2:45, and then at 3:15, you get into Central Time. That is over on that second cell that we're looking just a little further off towards the west. But it's part of a much larger area here where the ingredients are in place. Currently, we see a tornado watch that's in place from around Houston, stretching you all the way over to portions of Louisiana, about central Louisiana currently. Don't be surprised as if we continue through the overnight hours that all of this ultimately shifts itself a little further off towards the east because the ingredients are going to be there. We see a whole lot of energy pumping in off the Gulf of Mexico. This is our in-house future model. We'll put it into motion for you. Even though we're currently seeing some tornadoes on the ground and some big severe thunderstorms, we expect that perhaps this is only going to intensify and amplify as we head through overnight hours. This now 1 a.m., you see that line kind of setting up, sweeping across to New Orleans, ultimately getting onto the Florida Panhandle, all the way until early tomorrow. This is going to be an area that you have to pay very close attention to, especially if you live in it, because some big thunderstorms are going to be sweeping through. It's been a while since we've seen one of these, but everything here in this hatched region, going from Houston over to New Orleans, Pensacola, stretching over towards Panama City Beach, Florida, and then some areas inland, you're talking about a possibility, Ian, of tornadoes getting up to EF2 or greater. This is pretty severe weather.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Adam, when you look at this and you see where we're starting to see the hazards ongoing right now, it's the extreme western periphery of this hatch zone, which means we've got that entire journey across the Gulf Coast, which may present conditions like we're seeing already. So we've got our whole team in the Fox Forecast Center. We're monitoring the severe side of this, and we'll keep you updated on that. But for folks in the Northeast, Adam, the nor'easter is barely in the rearview mirror. You say, what's up with this mess? Is this heading in our direction? The answer is yes.
Yes, it is.
But it presents a whole different set of concerns as compared to what we saw over the weekend.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it might piggyback a little bit on some of the things we saw over the weekend because in some cases, ground saturated. In some cases, there's snow on the ground.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Heavy, wet snow.
Yeah, heavy, wet snow. Not for everybody you're looking at here, but a flood watch is in place. Now, as we know, we were all kind of anxiously awaiting some sort of rain from D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia up to New York. Or, excuse me, snow. Didn't really see that.
Yeah.
But the areas that did see it are going to get a good heavy rain on those as well.
Yeah, grand total of 0.2 of an inch at Central Park in New York City.
Right.
But you don't have to go far off to the north and west to get into these areas that had up to about a foot of heavy, wet snow. Heavy and wet, meaning it has a lot of water content. And then you put this on top of it. That's where the flooding concern comes in as we move through the middle part of this week.
Yeah, on the high end, some areas saw 18 inches of snow. That's at least a couple of inches of liquid water that's going to melt on top of several more inches of rain, all kind of getting into the system at once.
Yeah, and you remember where the nor'easter tracked. By definition, it was in through here, just offshore of the Northeast, which put us in the northeasterly wind direction. This one's tracking up into Ontario, which means the whole region is on the warm side of this. Warmer air carrying more of that moisture and putting this down on top of the snow.
Yeah, we just looked at where snow coverage was, and you can tell a whole lot of those areas are about to see a whole lot of rain.
Yeah, this yellow, 2 to 3 inches with some pops of orange in here, indicating, especially with the terrain squeezing out more of that moisture, we could see some areas in excess of 3 inches of rain on top of snow, plus wind gusts that could exceed 50, maybe 60 miles an hour.
Soggy ground, trees can come down, power can go out. It could be a real mess.
Yeah, be prepared for some power outages as we move forward with time into the middle part of the week. Up next, Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nizzle joins us for a closer look at the next storm, which looks every bit as strong, every bit as impactful. We'll have the latest on the current system, bringing blizzard conditions to the plains in the Midwest. Fox Weather Now. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jeff from Nuts.com. When my grandfather started this business, he relied on freshness, quality, variety, and service. We still deliver the freshest nuts, dried fruits, snacks, and sweets to families all around the country.
Nuts.com. Enjoy 20% off plus free shipping on your first order.
But there's still a little bit of that rotation there, but it's not as, as it was before. We do monitor the tornado warnings with if it's the green and the reds together, and the tighter it is, that's a good indication that it's going to be a little stronger. The couplet's going to be just more well aligned with this. So we're starting to see it break up a little bit, and that's definitely some good news there. As we take a look, we are seeing some of that hail as well with these storms, so let's not forget about the hail portion of this. On top of that, we are also going to be seeing heavy rain. Now we do have a flash flood warning. This is going to be around Lake Charles in Louisiana, because as these storms come through, they're going to be producing heavy rainfall, pockets of heavy rain with this. And as we head further to the north with this, we are seeing now more of those storms from Little Rock, Pine Bluff. And remember, anything that develops today is going to have the capability, especially the closer we are to portions of the Gulf. We're seeing a lot of the rotations, some of that already rotating storms where we are seeing those tornado warnings. Now, the further north we get to this, we are seeing blizzard warnings. We're seeing blowing snow with this. We are seeing, again, some very gusty winds. So as we take a look at the snow side of this, there has been heavy snow with this, but we also have been seeing very gusty conditions. And as we take a look at this Garden City, you are seeing some very strong gusts, so 50 miles per hour. This is why, if we take a look at visibility, you can see that it's a quarter mile or less of visibility. This is because of blowing snow. So you don't really want to be out on these roads. So overall, nationally, this is what we are dealing with, this area of low pressure. It's bringing just strong storms with this. And over the next couple of days, as this pushes to the east, we're going to continue to have the potential for even more severe weather. Not only are we seeing severe weather, but we're also tracking some of that flooding, Taban. So let's talk more about that. It's just very busy.
Yeah, I mean, at all ends right now, we're watching so much happening. And yeah, with those severe storms, the flooding component, we don't want to forget about either, because you could see really heavy rain leading to flash flooding, and that can cause its own issues as well. So when we're dealing with all this moisture pumping in from the Gulf, colliding with that frontal boundary, well, it's going to be concentrated really well in certain spots. So notice our rainfall forecast, Mobile up through Charlotte. We have heavy rain that's expected. Notice some of these whites in there. There are some indications where isolated areas could get over 5 inches of rain, which is why we've got excessive rainfall risks in place. This area here through tonight, New Orleans to Hattiesburg, level 3 out of 4 excessive rainfall risk, more isolated in nature for those lighter green shades. And flood watches already in place. Flood warnings, flash flood warnings already in place along that I-10 corridor.
This tornado watch, we obviously were monitoring the radios up here at the desk. Right now, Rosie Wynn is en route up towards Polk County, San Jacinto County, and as you see, some of the clouds up there kind of ominous right now, but that's northbound 59, like headed towards Kingwood right now. So Rosie headed up there for a live report. We hope to hear from her soon. Again, what we're doing up here at the desk, I'm with Iris and Essence, and we're making calls and just trying to find out the latest from those agencies up there that monitor this weather, the Office of Emergency Management, the Sheriff's Office, also, again, making calls to the school districts as well. And we're trying to get some solid, concrete information that we can report to you and report to our crews in the field. Obviously, we're taking calls up here as well from any viewers that might see or hear of any damage. That's where we get a lot of our information and tips and things of that nature here at the assignment desk. Back to you guys.
Thanks for that report, Jason. And we just got a new tornado warning that came down from the National Weather Service. This is another one in effect for Polk County. It's that same circulation that prompted our first warning near Cold Spring. It's gone by you, Cold Spring. It's departing Livingston. This is the one that is storm spotter confirmed, meaning it's not just that we saw a rotation on the radar. We've also had our eyes on the ground. That's why storm spotters play such a crucial role, especially when we get getting to the edge of these radar beams where we can't really see what's spinning near the ground. And so this is continuing to move off to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. Weather spotters first confirmed this tornado near Lower Van Road in FM 2025 when it was in San Jacinto County. And so they are saying that this is the potential to produce damage, but it's mainly moving now over rural parts of Polk County. It'll be close to the town of Leggett, so be aware of that, or Leggett. And so we'll continue to watch that. There's also the possibility that it could be producing some hail. Of course, the tornado part of it is obviously of more concern to us as it lifts off to the northeast. So this is going to dodge you in Seven Oaks, but there's another rotating storm in the pipeline that could potentially impact you within the next 30 minutes. So all of this, again, is moving off in that northeasterly direction. And I want to pull the view out and show you just kind of a broad sense of what's going on here. And so what we have is a tornado watch that is in effect for most of us, but the threat of tornadoes right now is mainly off to the northeast of Houston. That's where we're getting these spinning storms that are popping up. So this is our tornado watch. It says until 9 p.m., but in reality, by the time we hit around 7 p.m., all the storms are out of southeast Texas, and so we will see that get dropped. The important bullet points in the bottom right corner is that there could be a few tornadoes in this zone. Some EF2 or stronger, wind gusts to 70 miles per hour, even if there's no tornado, and the potential for golf ball size hail. Why does this watch go until 9 p.m.? Well, because it extends all the way into southwestern Louisiana, so they will have a tornado threat for longer than we will. The prime time for tornadoes is here over these next few hours, and we're focusing in on this warm front. Look at Huntsville. The front just arrived. Huntsville was in the 70s. It's now 53 degrees. Once that front clears your neighborhood and it cools off, your threat of tornadoes is basically over. Still could be some gusty winds and some heavy rain. So we've got to update the map here because this is a dynamic moving situation. Looks like the front is now through Brenham at 57, through LaGrange at 53. But look out ahead of it. It's over 20 degrees colder. So this is that warm and unstable air. And there's a lot of that storm fuel still left for this line of storms to work with and potentially produce gusty winds and some hail. Won't rule out a brief spin up of a EF0 type tornado. The more longer lived tornadoes that could get stronger, the focus for that appears to be off to the northeast of Houston. Meanwhile, in Houston, we're in okay shape right now. So that is certainly some good news. Okay, this is an update on the tornado warning that's for the storm that is crossing Lake Livingston. Again, this is still just radar indicated rotation, no confirmation from a spotter. Felice, if you could pull up that one for us on the radar, that'd be great. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located to the south of Onalaska, moving off in a northeasterly direction at 45 miles per hour. So this is the updated warning. It has crossed over now Lake Livingston. There's the potential circulating part that's getting ready to cross 190. Here's Onalaska. So this is off to your southeast. It is lifting northeastward. And then the other polygon that you see, that one is our confirmed tornado on the ground. I don't know if there's still spotters that have an eye on it and a visual, but those are the two tornado warnings that we are currently tracking. Those of you around Houston, Harris County, surrounding counties not being impacted by these as they lift off in a northeasterly direction. And to my producer, earlier you had mentioned that we have one of our storm spotters up there. Is Jaime available and ready to give us a report? Okay, so he is going to be joining us momentarily. He found his way up Highway 59 to come and track these storms and get us a visual on the ground. So at this time, these are our two tornado warnings. And Elise, if you'll just pull out so we can see the whole region again, just to give folks a feel for what we're seeing elsewhere. So there's an intense storm that's now made its way into Walker County. This is the combination of that shower, that storm Elise first identified in northwestern Montgomery County. It is merging with the cold front, and so we'll see if anything spins up as those mergers happen. Sometimes you can get these circulations to spin up. Something similar happened last Friday in Brazoria County near Angleton and Lake Jackson. We had something merge with the main line, and you got a brief spin up of an EF0 tornado. So we're watching this line now. This is the cold front, and this is going to be producing those strong and gusty winds. What we're watching is these little showers that are off to the north of I-10. As those lift off to the northeast, those potentially, if they start to produce lightning, could rotate and be like the storms that are currently up near Lake Livingston. Go back real fast, Elise, down to Houston. Oh, we got a new warning. Never mind. You know what you're doing there. Okay. So this is probably because this storm, the warning's about to expire, and it's moving along and on. So they're extending that polygon a lot farther now. and this one's at 50 miles per hour. So, Elise, if you'll draw a track on where we believe the circulation is just based on reflectivity, since we can't see it on the velocity anymore. Moving off to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. This is the same radar-indicated rotation that just crossed over Lake Livingston. And as we told you, those of you in Corrigan, to watch out for that one. It's moving in that general direction. And so Elise is going to plant the what do we call that? The storm track. There we go. And this is impacting Moscow at 3:07. So you got about 15 minutes in Moscow. Corrigan 3:12. Wakefield at 3:20. So that circulation holds together. And because of the way we're seeing the atmosphere moving and the ingredients present, it's probably going to sustain itself as it lifts off to the northeast in the vicinity of that warm front. That, though, is not the confirmed one. No. It's radar indicated. So we've got storm spotters out there trying to get visuals, and if they see it, a little difficult with all the piney woods and the tall trees, but we'll see if they can actually spot anything on the ground. So that's departing those of you from Point Blank on Alaska as that lifts its way off to the northeast. Back from there, here's what's in the pipeline. We've got storms merging together with the cold front. So Huntsville, you've gone from the 70s to the 50s like that. That's the way you know your tornado threat is over. Elise, if you go into velocity mode, are you seeing any signs of rotation along this line?
It's not the best rotation I've ever seen in my life, but has been a couple of small notches, but it would be from merging thunderstorms. It doesn't look like it's actually rotating, but these, as they merge, as you mentioned, could produce a quick spin up or some really strong winds.
Right. That's good news that it's not the best rotation you've ever seen in your life. We don't want to see rotation there. But we're going to keep an eye on that in case anything does try to spin up. So that part of the storm line is non-severe. I know it's making a lot of noise, rumbles of thunder, got all the lightning, got the heavy rain, maybe some small hail, but no warning on that one. Again, the focus for tornadoes is off to the north. And Elise, if you'll go down now to southern Harris County, we have this extensive line of storms. Go ahead and loop that for us as well, just so we can get a feel for what that's doing. This is not the kind of thing right now that would immediately say a tornado is in this, okay? So this is just a band of showers and thunderstorms. I know those of you in southeast Houston, Pasadena, Deer Park, you're on edge today because we have the possibility of tornadoes, and it's almost a year ago to the day that we had the tornado on January 24th. So right now, we're just seeing some good old-fashioned thunderstorms move on through, and just to reassure the folks, Elise, if you'll go ahead and throw on a velocity scan, I believe the one coming out of Hobby Airport is probably our closest view, and we're not seeing any signs of rotation along that line. So that's really good news right there. I know it's a little nerve-wracking on a day when you're under a tornado watch and you start to hear the wind pick up and you've got the rumbles of thunder, but we are okay at this time on the southeast side of Houston and into eastern Harris County, Pasadena, Deer Park, and even over towards Baytown where you got impacted by that tornado. At least let's next pull out the view and then check up on what's happening out to the west, where we have that line of storms developing that had the severe thunderstorm warning. Okay, so no warnings active anymore. That's good.
Yeah,
but that probably won't be the case for long. We're seeing what are called shear markers. You see these rotating arrows. That's indicating the presence of some strong winds. Not necessarily a rotation, but when you see them stacked up in a line, that's usually indicating that there's some gusty winds breathing out from those storms. And so that's why we have these strong thunderstorm alerts that are in effect. So get ready for those of you in Colorado County. Weimer, you're first up, and then coming up towards Columbus. Thank you. Columbus, you're next as well for the possibility of those gusty winds, maybe some small hail embedded in that one. I haven't seen too much, at least, on our hail analysis today. So, you know, there was the potential for some really pretty large hail. We're not seeing that materialize just yet. So if you could keep an eye on that as well.
Yep.
Just to make sure that we're not seeing this get any worse. And real fast, Elise, go ahead and draw a lightning count on that storm. Those of you who have followed us for a long time, you know that we like to use lightning as a proxy for whether a storm is intensifying or if it is weakening. And in this particular case, we want to see just a baseline of where that lightning count is. And then if it starts to go higher, that's a sign that it's getting stronger. If it goes lower, that's a sign that it is weakening. So we'll kind of get a feel for how strong that storm is right now as we track its way eastward into Colorado County. makes its way in towards Liberty and Chambers County. So we're keeping a watchful eye on that line of storms in southeastern Harris. It's not organized right now, but it may try to if it gets any stronger and taps into those stronger winds that are aloft. Elise, have we got any update from the Weather Service on the warnings?
We have not just yet. Nope, everything's quiet.
So one thing that we do is we partner with the National Weather Service and emergency managers, and there's this special chat room that we're all in. Looks like some new info's printing. And they can give us updates that they can really quickly that we can get out to you on TV. So something just came off the printer.
This is not related to southeast Texas weather.
Well, we're going to ignore that one because all we care about is what's happening here. So this line of storms, non-severe. We'll monitor it, though, as it lifts northeastward towards Mont Belvieu and Liberty to see if we start to see any signs of rotation. Let me go back in. Well, what's coming off the printer now?
Well, it's definitely, it's still related to, if anyone's interested, there was a really large earthquake in Indonesia.
Okay. And we'll get the latest information on that once we get clear of all this. Now,
right,
what I want to do real fast is I want to show folks Future Track, just to kind of give you a feel for the timing on this as we keep a watchful eye on those tornado-warned storms off to the northeast. Okay, so here's our Future Track. This is the cold front, the line of storms that you see. As we advance it forward, this is 3 o'clock. What we have to watch out for, any storms ahead of the line, which Future Track says are happening, those could potentially start to rotate. And so we're going to keep a watchful eye on those as this front rolls in here. As we get towards 4 o'clock, Future Track shows that the front is now into Houston and Harris County. Remember, once that front comes through your neighborhood, the winds might pick up, but it's going to cool off pretty quickly. That cold air is going to cut off the threat of tornadoes. It's out ahead of the line where those tornadoes will be possible. So folks that are headed down to watch parties or the big game at NRG, just be advised that those storms are coming through in the 4 or 5 o'clock hour. By 7 o'clock, the line is near the coast or offshore, and that will completely end our local severe weather threat. So even though you may have gotten an alert that you're under a tornado watch until 9 p.m., it will not last that long. Again, once the cold front clears your neighborhood, you're effectively in the clear from tornadoes, even though you might technically still be under a tornado watch. And what the Weather Service will do is, as this line marches along, they will start removing counties from that tornado watch. So soon we'll see Walker County cleared out. We'll see other counties off to the west and southwest of there cleared out of this watch. Then, as we head towards 10, 11 o'clock tonight, you might think we're done with the rain, right? No, we're not done with the rain. It won't be severe, but there are a lot of showers coming and building back in for the evening hours. But again, those will not be severe, although I wouldn't rule out an occasional rumble of thunder. All this is going to clear out. Tomorrow is looking beautiful around here, but it's going to be breezy and it's going to be a lot cooler. So that's kind of the general timing that we are expecting at this time. Elise, do we have any updates from the Weather Service on the 2 warnings?
Not yet, but I did do a quick radar analysis sweep, and it doesn't look like I'm seeing rotation anywhere else in southeast Texas at this moment.
Good. Okay, so these are our warned storms.
Only ones.
And they're moving quickly, so you don't have a lot of time to get into that safe spot. So we're giving you a heads up in Corrigan, Seven Oaks. Probably just play it safe. Wait for this thing to pass you by just in case, because sometimes these things will make a little turn to the right as they work their way through the atmosphere. We haven't seen signs of that, but that's always a possibility, which is why we draw these larger polygons than the actual storm itself. We'd rather overwarn in that localized area just in case we get any of those going on.
New warning.
New warning. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, and on here we put for you why the warning was issued. And so this is for 60-mile-per-hour winds. Thank you, Elise. And hail size, that's nickel size. That's non-severe. The warning here is for the 60-mile-per-hour winds. And this, again, is what we're seeing on radar. So if we could do a little velocity analysis, Elise, we'll look at both HGX and IAH on that one to see what we can see. And then if you hit the Q numbers, we can sample some of the pixels to see what the wind speeds are showing. Not seeing anything terribly threatening right now on this sweep. Is this IAH?
This is IAH.
Okay,
correct.
so this is the radar that services Bush Airport. If you've ever been driving up there along the Grand Parkway in northwest Harris County and you see what looks like a giant golf ball on top of a giant tee, that is the radar that services Bush Airport. It has the closest ground level view of this particular storm right now, and it's not showing signs of rotation. And these shades of green, I'm estimating that's probably between 35 and 45 miles per hour. So I'm not exactly sure what the Weather Service saw, but we're going to continue continue on with this potential warning. We might see some winds sometimes that are above the ground. They might be seeing signs that they're starting to gust out, and so we're keeping a potential warning. We might see some winds sometimes that are above the ground. They might be seeing signs that they're starting to gust out, and so we're keeping a close eye on that. We're going to head now, I believe, to the anchor desk with Greg Bailey and Brianna Connor as we kick off our
conditions for parts of the plains, eventually moving up toward the Midwest. That is Interstate 70 east of Hays, Kansas, which is closed, by the way. A big stretch of Interstate 70 is closed because it looks like this, what you're seeing on your screen right now. Several inches of snow, yes, but also some huge wind gusts, making for very dangerous travel, dropping visibility, and of course, confirming the blizzard conditions there, which we have had locked in. Keep in mind, blizzard isn't concerned with snow amounts, although we got those must be emergency vehicles, some trucks checking in on this. You need the reduced visibility, and you need winds sustained or frequently gusting up over about 35 miles per hour. We've certainly seen that. There's the cold side of this huge shield of snow, this powerful area of low pressure in through here, somewhere close to the border with Oklahoma and Kansas. Wichita right now is in the upper 30s with rain, but then you head on the opposite side of the warm front, behind the storm, behind the cold front as well, and that is where the wind is, and that is where the cold air has crashed in. Denver gusting to about 36, but look at Scott City, gusting up over 50 miles per hour, and we've seen in this overall region throughout this afternoon some gusts which have been up around 60. We showed you the big gust just now in Scott City. When you have heavy snow falling, look what that does to the visibility. Right now, that weather sensor is registering nothing for visibility. Blinding snow. Aurora is reporting up in Nebraska just a half a mile of visibility. So clearly, these are very dangerous conditions to be traveling in. Please don't if you don't need to, because you could be driving into very hazardous road conditions, yes, but also with those huge wind gusts, you can see almost nothing out on the roads. As we said, this huge storm is just getting started. Let's bring in Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nidzl, who's been tracking this storm for days. Yeah, Tom, the nor'easter is barely in the rear view mirror, and now we have this blizzard, which is still ramping up.
Yeah, and the way I'm looking at it now, that nor'easter, that was just an opening act. We're getting into the main event now. And boy, this storm is a blockbuster. Ian, take a look at what's happening already with this storm, how quickly it's ramped up today. Look at the wind gusts out there across western Kansas, gusting 54, 55, 58 miles an hour. And as a result of that, you see all those red arrows or red dots that are there. Those are sites that have already confirmed a full-blown blizzard, meeting the criteria. And as a result of that, there's a whole stretch of I-70 already that is closed in both directions from Waukene, Kansas, right over to the Colorado border.
And as we move through this now blockbuster event, that's a fantastic new product, by the way, showing those spots, confirming blizzard conditions. How do we think this plays out as we move through the evening hours and then into the day tomorrow?
I'll tell you what, I hate to say it, but I think it's only going to get worse. This system still has a long way to go to intensify, going to be pulling a lot of Gulf moisture up and into that cold air as it tracks northeastward pretty rapidly. There's that huge spin in the atmosphere, Ian. That's the water vapor imagery. It helps us get a three-dimensional look at the atmosphere. And when I see a signature like this, it just is telling me this is a powerful storm by every stretch of the imagination. Blizzard warnings in effect across a large area. Winter storm warnings now in effect. And where you see the watches, National Weather Service will be upgrading those to warnings, I'm pretty certain, within the next 6 hours or so. And boy, watch this system move. It rounds the base of the trough here, the upper level trough, and then it makes a beeline for the Great Lakes region. That forward speed is going to pull all that Gulf moisture back into the cold air. You see the winds speeds on the backside of this going into that Tuesday night time frame. And Ian, it moves through quite rapidly. It's up into Canada by Wednesday, but we still have strong winds and some exceptionally cold temperatures behind that.
So, Tom, a lot of places that saw absolutely nothing out of this nor'easter from the past weekend get walloped by this one. The storm track, very different. Can you speak to that, what we're expecting across the Great Lakes region in the upper Midwest through the middle of the week?
Yeah, it's a good point. This has a whole different personality than the nor'easter. This is taking that track right up through the Great Lakes region. You see places like Grand Island here, they're going to be in blizzard conditions for 12 to 24 hours. Total snowfall across the area is going to be very significant. And again, my biggest concern after all of this, after the blizzard is done, you stay into Arctic temperatures for several days and more storms on the way. You lose power, you better be ready to get that power back up again and have a generator, if necessary, to back you up.
Yeah, you look at that forecast into the weekend, Tom, and you have a full day where temperatures are short of zero, just incredible cold, unlike we've seen at all this season. You talked about that storm track. We've got a similar flavor for another one. We're going to get to that coming up. That's Fox Weather's winter storm specialist, Tom Nizzle. Thank you. We'll be checking back in soon at the bottom of the hour for a look at that next winter storm that we'll be talking about this week.
Sounds good.
We got a live picture for you now from Des Moines, Iowa. We saw some flakes flying earlier. Looks like we're getting a touch of a break right now, but that will ramp back up with as much as a foot of snow expected by tomorrow. Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez is live in Des Moines. Nicole, it's all eyes, Iowa, on the national stage as we move on through the next several days. And now you've got this big snowstorm moving in. How are folks gearing up for this?
Yeah, and it looks like someone may have turned the snow machine off, at least for the time being right now. But as you mentioned, not only is this going to be an impactful week weather-wise here for Des Moines, but arguably one of the busiest weeks for the capital city of the Hawkeye State, as political candidates, especially those from the Republican Party, are really trying to take advantage of the last few days and hours ahead of the Iowa caucus they have to gain that support from voters and persuade them to cast their ballots for their presidential preferences for them come a week from today. So you've got a lot of people in all over the state. Sioux City, for example, where we know Nikki Haley, another presidential hopeful, is hosting an event along with several other candidates and many more expected throughout the week today. So talking about widespread heavy snowfall and potential travel impacts from that snowstorm is not something that a lot of people want to hear, but likely one many are preparing for, recognizing that there are really only a few days left until that vital day as that kicks off election season. And as we already start to see the impacts from this storm play out in neighboring cities, or states rather, to our west, it's only painting a picture of what's to come here. We've shown you some images from Nebraska, from Kansas. We now know, as Tom mentioned, I-70 there shut down in both directions because of not only how much snow has fallen, but the wind impact and blowing all of that snow around, making visibility near impossible for drivers making their way up and down the interstate there. We have other very vulnerable interstates that cross right through Des Moines, including I-8, I-35. All eyes are going to be on those, again, as a lot of people travel up and down, not only for those events ahead of the big vote next week, but you have a lot of people who are trying to sort of beat the storm, right? Which is what we've seen a lot from the day today here in the East Village. A lot of people walking around, driving. We've got the state capitol behind us that's also been busy throughout the day today. So unfortunately, Ian, it doesn't look like the perfect setup for the amount of events and activities planned for Des Moines this week. And the wind, I got to point out, has actually been the most surprising element to this so far because of just how strong it's been and how consistent it's been. But talking about the snow, you know, I've talked to people out here, drivers, people who live here, who recognize that the travel, whether it's on the road or in the air, are both something to keep a close eye on and something that can unfortunately catch people by surprise. So I think at the end of the day, Ian, what we're going to be focusing on is the impacts of all of this. Power outages, air travel, road travel, and any impacts to those political events that are scheduled throughout the week.
Yeah, all of this just getting started too, Nicole. It's going to have a much different look come this time tomorrow. That wind, as you mentioned, too, biting. The wind chill right now where you are, 25 degrees, and that will get colder. The first of a couple snowstorms to impact it through what's left of this week. Nicole Valdez, we'll be checking back in with you next hour. Thank you. This is a bona fide blizzard ongoing. Heavy snow, powerful winds, and cold temperatures pouring in from the north, all making travel in the middle of the country very dangerous. And it doesn't end there. Tomorrow, the system will push east, bringing several inches of heavy rain and damaging wind gusts to the northeast. Parts of the region which are still digging out from this weekend's nor'easter and that heavy, wet snow that fell.
Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for southeastern Texas. Repeating, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for the following county: Polk, Texas. The tornado warning for East Central Polk County will expire at 3:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. The storm which prompted the warning has moved out of the area. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for southeastern Texas. Repeating, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for the following county: Polk, Texas. The National Weather Service in League City has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for South Central Trinity County in southeastern Texas, northwestern San Jacinto County in southeastern Texas, west central Polk County in southeastern Texas, southeastern Walker County in southeastern Texas, until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. At 2:58 p.m. Central Standard Time, a line of strong to severe thunderstorms was located near Huntsville State Park and to the northeast, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Hazard, 60 miles per hour wind gusts and penny-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include southeastern Huntsville, Onalaska, New Waverly, Point Blank, Sebastopol, Huntsville State Park, and Oakhurst. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for southeastern Texas. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the following counties in Texas: Polk and Trinity. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 1, effective until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. This watch includes the following counties in Texas: Jasper, Polk, and Tyler. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA weather radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Repeating, Tornado Watch number 1 has been issued until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for the following counties in Texas: Jasper, Polk, and Tyler. This is a special weather statement. Strong thunderstorms will impact southern Panola, southeastern Rusk, Nacogdoches, western Shelby, northwestern Angelina, and northwestern San Augustine counties through 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. At 3:03 p.m. Central Standard Time, Doppler radar was tracking strong thunderstorms along a line extending from 6 miles northeast of Troy to near Hudson. Movement was northeast at 85 miles per hour. Hazard, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour and half-inch hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, gusty winds could knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. Minor hail damage to vegetation is possible. Locations impacted include Lufkin, Nacogdoches, Center, Hudson, Tanana, Timpson, Garrison, Joaquin, Melrose, Martinsville, Woden, Etoyo, Appleby, Chirano, Gary City, Jericho, Stockman, Central, Redland, and Dotson. If outdoors, consider seeking shelter inside a building. You're listening to your weather radio, station WXK-23, broadcasting in Lufkin on 162.55 megahertz. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. Here's a look at local weather conditions as of 2 p.m. At the top of the hour, the report from Lufkin was not available. In Nacogdoches, at the regional airport, a thunderstorm was reported with a temperature of 58 degrees. The dew point was 32, making the relative humidity 37%. Winds were southeast at 10 miles an hour. The pressure was 29.48 inches and falling. At 2 p.m., a tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for northwestern Tyler County. At 3:07 p.m. Central Standard Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Chester, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado and quarter-size hail. Source, radar-indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Rockland around 3:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. Take cover now. Move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Heavy rainfall may hide this tornado. Do not wait to see or hear the tornado. Take cover now. Torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Repeating, a tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the following county: Tyler, Texas. A tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for North Central Polk County. At 3:04 p.m. Central Standard Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Corrigan, or 15 miles west of Chester, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar-indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Corrigan around 3:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Moscow. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. A tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for northwestern Tyler County. At 3:17 p.m. Central Standard Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Rockland, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado and quarter-size hail. Source, radar-indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Rockland around 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time. Take cover now. Move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Heavy rainfall may hide this tornado. Do not wait to see or hear the tornado. Take cover now. Torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Repeating, a tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the following county: Tyler, Texas. A tornado warning remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for North Central Polk County. At 3:04 p.m. Central Standard Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Corrigan, or 15 miles west of Chester, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter.
To the showers.
Yeah, and a lot of water.
Yeah, a lot of folks in New England over the weekend saw sights like this. You're looking at Worcester, Massachusetts, where they saw heavy snow move on through. This time, not snow, more so rain is what we're looking for. A huge area. I'll show you who saw snow in just a minute. But as you can tell on Tuesday's forecast, a huge swath of the eastern half of the country is again going to be dealing with, at times, some pretty heavy precipitation. This time, a little bit more rain than you saw previously. You can pay attention to the timestamp up in the corner. This is our exclusive in-house model. As you head through the day Tuesday, really get into Tuesday evening, and you start to see the mid-Atlantic running up into New England, starting to see some of that really heavy rain. Now, initially, and especially at some higher elevations, there might be snow here, but this is going to be much more of a rain event than we saw just over the weekend. I'm continuing here through Wednesday. It is going to be a really kind of raw, just tough evening through Tuesday evening through Wednesday if you live really across this entire region. Now, this is what's currently on the ground. This is snow on the ground. You're looking at roughly 90% of this entire region, right? Well, you introduce all of the rain that's about to come, and suddenly flooding becomes a big issue. Most of the area I was just showing you now covered into what you're looking at being rain. So those yellows, 3 to 5 inches of rain, it's going to be washing away some of that snow that is on the ground. So no surprise here. We're looking at a really big area where there's at least flooding on the very likely end. So, Ian, I'm concerned that the flooding is going to be an issue. You're talking about really major cities here, right? D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York. All those folks need to be careful.
Yeah, and a lot of those same spots, Adam, had that multiple times in 2023. Here we are, second week of 24, and we got a big flood threat. We do have another Fox Weather Alert. I want to get you updated on the latest tornado warning issue. This is for Angelina, Sabine, and San Augustine counties in Texas. It runs until 3:45 local time. Just glancing up at our Fox Weather Alert system, this is just coming in. It runs for the next 20 minutes or so. This is a rural part of Texas. It's a well-formed couplet. In total, it's only about 90 people that are included within this tornado warning, but it's a strong storm. It represents that hazard, and it's also indicative of this overall environment, which is a huge concern, not just for the Gulf Coast in Texas, including the Houston metro area, but all the way across the Sabine River and into Louisiana with this tornado watch that runs for the next several hours. That's the couplet right there. Places like Brooklyn, Pineland, Rosevine, just know you've got this strong storm heading in your direction. For Pineland, you've already got a strong storm above you, sub-severe, but the next one on the way in is showing some signs of rotation. So there is a tornadic threat there. Then, as I mentioned, you look over toward coastal areas now in Louisiana, including the New Orleans metro, sub-severe right now, but those are some nasty storms working through with heavy rain. Farther off to the west, south of I-10, some of these parishes under now severe thunderstorm warnings, and I do think, unfortunately, those will be expanding in coverage as we move forward through the next several hours. It's been a snowy start to this week from New Mexico and parts of West Texas, or northern Texas at least, all the way up into Minnesota. This is as the huge storm brings blizzard conditions. We were just showing you those to places like where you're seeing right there in Dodge City. The latest on this storm and why folks in the Northeast need to be especially on alert after the nor'easter this past weekend. That's when Fox Weather Now comes right back.
That's $78.29.
Oh, I've only got $50. Take out the cheese puffs and the broccoli. I mean, who likes broccoli?
I don't. Only $22.87 to go.
It would be faster with the Empower app.
Empower Cash Advance gives you up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
I've got money. Keep the cheese puffs, but leave out the broccoli.
Get Empower Cash Advance from $10 to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
Guild has the designers that get your heart racing.
Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Central Standard. The tornado warning for northwestern Tioga County will expire at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The storm which prompted the warning has moved out of the area. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. However, gusty winds and heavy rain are still possible with this thunderstorm. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for southeastern Texas. To report severe weather, contact your nearest law enforcement agency. They will relay your report to the National Weather Service, Lake Charles. Repeating, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for the following county: Tyler, Texas. The tornado warning for northwestern Tioga County will expire at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The storm which prompted the warning has moved out of the area. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. However, gusty winds and heavy rain are still possible with this thunderstorm.
This is a Fox Weather Alert. Good afternoon and welcome back to Fox Weather Now here at the bottom of the hour. I'm Ian Oliver, and we've got a blizzard to talk about in the plains, heavy snow and driving winds blasting across the high plains through Kansas into Nebraska, Colorado. All of this is part of a huge sprawling storm system, one that's generated numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings, including couple of confirmed tornado warnings. This is just in the past hour and a half, so a very active start to this new week. This after we had our first proper nor'easter of the year that struck the Northeast over the weekend. So here we go. This is still a deepening or intensifying storm. Snow on the cold side of it and down toward the Gulf Coast. Big evening, by the way, down in Houston with the national title game ongoing tonight. Unfortunately, Houston is included in a tornado watch that runs through the latter portion of this evening. So if you were missing some of the wintry weather, yeah, we got some pictures to show you. That is Garden City, Kansas. Western parts of the state have been locked in with full-blown blizzard conditions raging across the middle part of the country right now. This is a storm, as I mentioned, that has been ramping on up, and the wind gusts on the backside of this, with winds out of the north, by the way, they are biting winds. They've been gusting up over 50 miles per hour. You combine that with heavy snow, you get visibility of effectively zero across parts of these areas, which, of course, meets blizzard conditions. Spots like Scott City, 21 degrees, heavy snow, big wind gusts. North Platte, heavy snow. Concordia reporting more of the same. And yes, this whole stretch across western parts of Kansas, this is a brand new product. We debuted this today here on Fox Weather. You see areas shaded in the red, numerous of these locator icons across western parts of Kansas and up into southwestern parts of Nebraska. If it's red, blizzard conditions have been confirmed in these areas, meaning at least 3 hours time with visibility reduced to a quarter mile or less, and winds either sustained or frequently gusting up over 35 miles per hour. And in the area shaded in purple, oh, you're working on it. You've had near blizzard or blizzard conditions, just not for the period of time necessary for that to be considered a proper blizzard just yet. So needless to say, it doesn't matter from a criteria standpoint. If you're trying to drive in that, it is especially dangerous because of the snow, yes, but as I mentioned, also the wind and the visibility. Scott City, last hour, gusting up to 51 miles per hour. And as we move forward through time, through this evening, the winds eventually start to dial back, but they're significant even into the early part of the day tomorrow. Wichita, snow is gone. It's off to your east, but winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour, and that's pulling down some of that cold air from the north. That heavy snow, which is the reason that these winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings exist all the way up to the Great Lakes. That stripe of pink indicating 8 to 12 inches of snow. In some spots, we're expecting locally higher amounts. But let's go back to the worst of this now, with blizzard conditions persisting across parts of the plains. Check that out for a time lapse out in Garden City, Kansas, as the winter storm brings a mix of that heavy snow and gusty winds. Travel conditions still only expected to worsen, with whiteout conditions dropping visibility to just about nothing out on some of the roadways. Following this storm is Fox Weather exclusive storm tracker Mark Sudduth. Mark, you are rightfully so back inside for the moment. We saw you getting blasted in the last hour, but here we are, 8 days into 2024, and you can for sure mark blizzard off your list.
Absolutely. So it's pretty calm inside the entranceway here to our hotel. Let's show you what it looks like as we go outside, shall we? This is blizzard conditions. And is it official yet? I don't know. That's up to the Weather Service, Dodge City. But this is what it looks like, Ian, and all the Fox Weather watchers. It is just absolutely, it's like a hammer dropped in the last hour to 90 minutes. And the power's been flickering. We've had a little thunder snow in the area. I understand that some of the forecast people at National Weather Service, Dodge City, were able to hear that thunder. Very dynamic here in the last 90 minutes. Unbelievable storm. I've seen a lot of them. You never get used to it, Ian.
Yeah, snowflakes are moving sideways. And yeah, we've got those blizzard conditions locked in across those areas. You look at the tree behind you, Mark. That's an indicator of the wind. Of course, there's no leaves on it. Those are long gone. What's it been like as you've been moving around portions of the state? What are the road conditions been like?
Road conditions obviously deteriorating very quickly. We've been seeing alerts about that. Not advised for anybody to be driving right now. There was a few minutes a little while ago, right before we came on, that we couldn't even, you can hardly even see across the parking lot now, but it almost got to zero. Because as you know, that snow gets whipped up into a frenzy, and those visibilities drop, and you start to lose your sense of orientation. And you got truckers that are out here on Highway 50 between here and Pratt, which is 400. Oh, gonna need some goggles or something eventually. This is nuts. But driving, standing out here is not good. I can't imagine driving in it. I've done a lot of storm tracking in my 30 years. This is no good.
Hey, Mark, yeah, that looks considerably worse even than last time we checked in with you. Looks like those snowflakes are going straight up sideways. Let's get you back inside, Mark. Doing great work out there. I hope they have a fresh pot of coffee on inside the hotel. We'll be checking back in, but wow, that if you wonder what a blizzard looks like, it's what's right there. Mark Sudduth, thank you. That obviously represents a significant hazard, almost impossible to travel in conditions like that. On the opposite side of that area of low pressure, the warm side of the storm, moisture, instability working up off the Gulf of Mexico, and we've got a significant severe weather threat over the next several hours. Adam Klotz tracking the storms with us this afternoon. And Adam, you and I, through the past couple of hours, out ahead of the main cold front, we've seen these discrete cells with kind of hallmark signatures of rotation ongoing.
Yeah, we have, and it's all in an area where it's kind of expected at this point. There's still one on the board. They're a little ways off towards the north and off towards the east of Houston now. And that's maybe a cold front that's going to start to grab some of these. But everything out in front of it continues to have the risk of being severe here as we head through the overnight hours. And that's why we're looking through 9 p.m. Central Time. Everything you're looking at in the red there is in that tornado watch. That just means the ingredients are there. And as you know, this will probably shift itself off towards the east as we go through the...
Yeah, and in fact, we've been showing you the tornado watch because it's the most recent threat. It's top of mind. We've got all these storms, but the threat zone from the Storm Prediction Center, it's a level 3 out of 5, and it includes the whole northern Gulf Coast. So this is a threat with time that persists all the way into the overnight.
Yeah, a lot of this is going to be taking place overnight, and in some cases, maybe even ramping up a little bit more than what we're currently seeing overnight. That timestamp is in the top left hand of this graphic, and you can just see that line running across ultimately Louisiana, really the entire Gulf Coast there, getting onto the Florida Gulf Coast, all the way until tomorrow morning, still talking about a risk for some severe weather there.
Yeah, that's a classic signature for severe weather in Florida. Powerful front moving across the Gulf of Mexico, grabbing some added energy, perhaps bringing some water spouts ashore.
And we've hardly had time to even get to this, but there is a lot of moisture in here, and flooding is going to be a concern, even though we've gotten kind of caught up in the severe thunderstorms, the tornadoes that we've seen spin up so far. Flooding is going to be a major issue because we're talking, you get those oranges 3 to 5 inches, but even the 2 to 3 inches along the Gulf Coast, a lot of rain is on the way overnight.
Yes, the old adage, drought ends in flood, and this region, the mouth of the Mississippi, and even points farther off to the north, which unfortunately this go around see less. That's heavy rain in places that need it, just not nearly that much that fast.
No, coming way too fast. And then ultimately all of this by tomorrow is still there. It just shifts off towards the southeast.
Yeah, even the shape of this, you can just tell it's that front right along it, and out ahead of it, you've got the severe weather threat. If you're watching from Florida, I-4, especially in points north, be especially aware of this into the day tomorrow.
Yep.
A winter storm will be bringing more unsettled weather up to the northeast tomorrow night, and points off to the east from there as we move into the middle part of the work week. Adam, these are some areas that just saw the worst kind of snow to shovel, meaning it's got a lot of water in it, heavy, wet snow, and a lot of water on top of that.
Yeah, that heavy stuff, more than a foot of snow in some of these places over the week. And you know what? We're going to add a couple of inches to that. So that wet, heavy snow, that's going to turn into liquid water of the rain that's yet to come. And no surprise here, we've got a huge area all in green where there's a flood watch in place. And you're talking about places like D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, some major metropolitan areas. Pay attention. There's your time up in the top left corner. Initially, maybe a little bit of cold air, and you see some flurries in some of the interior locations, again, across the mid-Atlantic and up into New England. But ultimately, this is some really warm air. This entire storm path is going way farther to the north than the one over the weekend, which means it's going to pull in a lot more warm air. With that warm air, you get kind of rounds and rounds of some of this very heavy rain. It's a quick mover. By the time you get into Wednesday morning, a lot of this is really beginning to drag itself off, and by Wednesday afternoon and evening, you could be seeing a little bit of sunshine. But this is a big rainmaker moving on through. How much rain are we talking about? Remember, the ground is already covered with snow, so you're going to get melt on top of that. But all of these yellows, 2 to 3 inches, flooding is going to be a big concern. Yes, in areas where there's snow on the ground, but even areas where there aren't, some of those major cities, you're still worried about flooding just because of all the concrete. There's nowhere for that rain to go. On top of saturated, winds will pretty easily get up to 30, 40 miles an hour. Don't be surprised if there's some gusts stronger than that. Power outages, Ian, that's going to be another one of these major concerns with this system as we track it over the next 48, 36 hours or so.
Yeah, Adam, with the nor'easter over the weekend and the evolution of this ongoing blizzard, the severe weather down south, there are a lot of spots across the country that could handle a break. There is not one in the forecast. Up next, Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nizzle joins us with a closer look at yet another powerful winter storm that will have our full attention toward the end of this week. And we'll have the latest on this current system bringing blizzard conditions to parts of the plains, eventually up into the Midwest. Fox Weather. We'll be right back.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. If you have or are eligible for Medicaid, please listen closely. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare with a $0 or low plan premium. Call now. We can answer your questions and help you enroll over the phone. WellCare provides access to essential benefits that go beyond original Medicare, such as dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage with free home delivery, free over-the-counter health care.
Saturday and Saturday night, mostly clear. Highs in the mid-40s. Lows in the upper 20s. Sunday and Sunday night, partly cloudy. A slight chance of showers. Highs in the mid-40s. Lows in the upper 20s. Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Monday night, mostly cloudy. A 30% chance of showers. Highs in the upper 40s. Lows in the lower 30s. For more detailed weather, water, and climate information, please visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta. This is NOAA Weather Radio Station, KEC 80. This broadcast originates from the National Weather Service office in Peachtree City and is transmitted from the top of Stone Mountain on a frequency of 162.55 megahertz. The KEC 80 listening area includes the following counties: Cherokee, Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Douglas, Fayette, Forsyth, Fulton, Gwinnett, Henry, Newton, Rockdale, and Walton. Visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta for the latest weather information, including watches and warnings. You can also like your Peachtree City National Weather Service on Facebook or follow NWS Atlanta on Twitter. Wind advisory remains in effect until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday. What? Southeast winds 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 45 miles per hour expected. Where? Portions of north central, northwest, and west central Georgia. When? From 4 p.m. this afternoon to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday. Impacts. Gusty winds could blow around unsecured objects. Tree limbs could be blown down and a few power outages may result. Use extra caution when driving, especially if operating a high-profile vehicle. Secure outdoor objects. Wind advisory remains in effect from 4 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. What? Southwest winds 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour expected. Where? Portions of central, east central, north central, northeast, southeast, and west central Georgia. When? From 4 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. Impacts. Gusty winds could blow around unsecured objects. Tree limbs could be blown down and a few power outages may result. Use extra caution when driving, especially if operating a high-profile vehicle. Secure outdoor objects. Here is the hazardous weather outlook. This hazardous weather outlook is for portions of north and central Georgia. For this afternoon and tonight, light freezing rain will be possible in the higher elevations of far north Georgia late tonight, mainly at elevations above 2,500 feet. And now the extended outlook for the period Tuesday through Sunday. Showers and thunderstorms will sweep across the area during the day Tuesday. Some storms may be strong to severe, particularly south of A. Columbus to E-Tenton line. Severe thunderstorms that develop will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts and a few tornadoes. Widespread non-thunderstorm wind gusts over 40 miles per hour are also possible, with higher gusts across the northern mountains. Rainfall amounts of over 3 inches are possible in a swath from Columbus to Gainesville, with higher amounts across the northeastern mountains. Another storm system is expected to bring showers and thunderstorms to the region Thursday night and Friday. Spotter information statement. Spotter activation will not be needed through tonight. The current time is 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The following reports of weather, temperature, and wind were taken at 4 p.m. Atlanta, it was partly sunny. 51 degrees. Dew point 29, relative humidity 42%. Wind southeast at 15 miles an hour, gusting to 25 miles an hour. Pressure was 30.16 inches and falling. Around Atlanta, Chamblee, it was mostly sunny, 48 degrees, wind variable at 6 miles an hour, gusting to 23 miles an hour.
comes on the heels of a shocking tornado that hit Fort Lauderdale over the weekend. Look at that. That was an EF0. You could see some of the power flashes off in the distance. Florida, by the way, has severe weather concerns into the day tomorrow. Joining me now is the communications director at Louisiana's Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, Mike Steele. Mike, thanks for being with us here on Fox Weather. We're already seeing a lot of action off to your west in Texas, and unfortunately, that's the same threat that's moving in. So how are you preparing for this severe weather threat we're expecting not just for the next several hours, but unfortunately persisting overnight tonight?
Sure, you hate to see those problems developing even for our friends over in Texas, but it could be just the start of what we're dealing with this evening. Like you guys said, the important part for us right now is to make sure that we get the word out to the public as much as we can. Take whatever last little preparation steps you can take, but the main thing is staying weather aware. Have a way to receive notifications that the National Weather Service may be pushing out, know what those warnings and watches mean. We still have several hundred people, households that are still living in temporary RV trailers as part of a state-run FEMA-supported program after Hurricane Ida. So we've been in contact with our local partners at the parish level. A lot of those parishes have shelters planned, or they have plans for shelters in place should the conditions deteriorate overnight. And then when you talk about one of these types of systems moving through in the overnight hours, that adds a whole nother element of danger, because we hope that the worst doesn't hit as people are sleeping and maybe don't have time to kind of react. So there's a lot going on, and we could be in for a long night.
Clearly. And Mike, what a switch up this is. I mean, this is a place, as you mentioned, that has dealt with over the last couple of years a lot of high impact weather. But through this summer, you had this drought that just worsened and worsened. Now we've been in this run where active weather has returned. There's benefit to this rain, yes, but what about the threat of flooding, both with this particular event, heavy rain with the storms moving through, and then with a second system arriving later in the week?
Sure, there's a lot of rivers and tributaries and waterways in South Louisiana. Flooding is something that's our biggest threat, whether it's related to a tropical threat or not. Flooding is typically the problem that we deal with the most. So people know what to do a lot of times in these situations, but we try to get the word out about not driving in these conditions. A lot of parishes indicated on some of the coordination calls this morning that they were making sandbags available. Take advantage of those resources when they're out there. Of course, should these conditions get to the point where our local partners need that state support, our staff, our crisis action team has been activated. They're standing by to kind of help receive those requests and see what state support may be needed. When you're dealing with these types of situations, the biggest concern is it's likely you're going to have problems, right? Like we've seen high wind gusts already. We've seen a lot of hail in some other places. So you're going to have these pockets of problems. It's just trying to determine exactly where they're going to be is kind of the tricky part. So, we're on alert now. Ironically, we have Governor Jeff Landry's taking office this week. The inauguration for the governor was supposed to be today. They actually pushed that event up to this weekend because of the threat today. And again, we're going to be on standby all night, ready to take whatever actions needed.
Yeah, this is a dangerous evening and overnight period ahead for your residents. Mike Steele in Louisiana, we wish you the best moving through this storm and beyond. Thanks for being with us here on Fox Weather.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
We've got another winter storm taking shape with a big impact at the end of this week. Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nizzle back with us now with a look at what's next. And Tom, what's next is a lot like what's happening now. We've got this next potent storm impacting some of the same areas that are about to get blasted in the short term.
I'll tell you, Ian, I've been working with winter weather for over 30 years, and I haven't seen many setups like this. This is going to be not just one storm after the other, but one major high-impact winter storm after the other. You take a look at what we've got here is, the first storm going through here as we go through the middle of the week. Blizzard conditions with that storm, highly significant. Take a look at what comes in its path. It's rinse and repeat. Deja vu all over again. Here comes storm number 3, right in that same position, and look at the track. Just a little further east. This one likely is going to hit Chicago, their main metro area, with a really rough storm. That's storm number 3. And then look what comes in its path behind that. Exact same track almost, storm number 4. Snowfall through as we get into that Thursday to Sunday timeframe with the next storm. It really looks like it's going to impact Chicago, a good portion of Michigan, across the region, and then look at the temperatures associated with this. Boy, I'll tell you, we have flipped right into midwinter.
Yeah, it's like we went turbocharged right into the heart of it with some of that cold air being unlocked from the Arctic. But Tom, you showed us as all that cold air spills in, the area that's actually left out is the Northeast again. This is another storm track, even with this next powerful storm system that looks awfully wet up into the Northeast. But in the Great Lakes, the Midwest, it's like going 10 rounds with a heavyweight. With the warm side of this, are you concerned about the effect of both of these storms?
Yeah, in the east, I'm really concerned about the effect of several rounds of heavy rainfall. That could be really significant. They're going to have to watch that. I'm really concerned about flood potential over the next week to week and a half in the eastern part of the country.
Fox Weather's winter storm specialist, Tom Nizzle, and we will be checking back in with you a lot as we move forward through this week and into the weekend. A lot on the horizon in this active pattern.
Thank you.
Adam, folks aren't going to love what follows that next storm system that Tom Nizzle was just showing us. Behind it, a brutal blast of Arctic air. This is unlike anything we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, and maybe if you even go back through last year, you didn't see anything quite like this either. So we're setting up, it's actually a part of the country where these folks are, kind of weathered to this if you look historically. But recently,